Presenting the transcription feature, Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman, who can leap tall buildings at a single bound, race a speeding bullet to its target, then steel in his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth and justice.
And now to our story. When Nancy Harmon and young Jimmy Olsen seemingly vanished into thin air, Kent, as Superman, found them in a cabin deep in the woods, some miles from the Bartlett logging camp, of which Nancy's father, Fred Harmon, is boss. They appeared to be under the sleep-producing influence of a drug. Rushing them back to the camp, Kent had Bill Dawson, Harmon's right-hand man, send to Montville, the nearest town, for Father Malone, a Northwoods priest who, because of the lack of a physician, ministers to the body as well as the soul. It is midnight in the logging camp office. Nancy and Jimmy, although still under the influence of the sleeping potion, seem to be in no danger. Fred Harmon, exhausted by the ordeal, has gone to bed. Kent and Father Malone, a tall, broad-shouldered man with warm gray eyes and a ready smile, are seated before the fire.
Well, now, let's see. I've been up in this section of the woods close to 12 years, Mr. Kent.
That's a long time, Father Malone.
Oh, not so long. Time passes quickly when there are things to do. Yes, 12 years. My first parish was at St. Clair. That's 10 miles north of Montville.
Oh?
I had 7 worshippers, and 5 of them didn't understand a word of English, and I didn't speak a word of French. But we got along famously. The moment those Canucks discovered I could handle a rifle, we were friends.
Don't you ever want to go back to a big city?
No, I don't think I'd like it. People are so much more human up here. They learn to depend on themselves, and they learn to develop faith in themselves and in Providence.
Where did you learn medicine, Father?
Books, and a few lessons from Dr. Warren at Hart's Landing.
Oh.
Of course, I never tamper with anything that looks serious, just odds and ends.
Well, you're quite sure Jimmy and Miss Harmon will be all right?
Positive. Pulse and respiration are normal. Your diagnosis, I think, was quite correct. Some sort of a sleeping potion. Now, tell me exactly what happened.
Well, apparently, Father, it's the White Plague legend again.
Hey?
Yes, it seems 2 loggers died very mysteriously a few days ago, and then a third came staggering in out of a blizzard last night and passed away almost in my arms. Then early today, a 4th man collapsed. Dawson said he'd been struck by a rattler.
Oh, no, that's nonsense. Snakes hibernate during the winter. Anything else happened?
Yes. Early this afternoon, Jimmy and I were riding back to camp in a horse-drawn sled when someone shot at us from the woods. Shot to kill.
I've been waiting for something like that.
So?
This White Plague legend has been haunting me, Kent, ever since I started working among lumberjacks. Like any legend, it passes from mouth to mouth, and the miracles created by it are manifold. But sooner or later, we discover the legend is being put to good or bad use by some misguided human. So you were shot at, eh?
Yes. Fortunately, neither Jimmy nor I were hit. We got back to camp, and while Mr. Harmon and I were discussing the series of curious accidents, Jimmy and Miss Harmon went out to look at some young raccoons penned up near a shed.
Yes, Dawson mentioned that incident to me.
Oh?
How you followed their footprints in the snow, and they suddenly stopped.
That's right. Did he tell you about the big white bird?
Oh, I know. What was that?
Well, while Dawson and I were searching for Jimmy and Nancy, we heard 2 rifle shots. We ran back and found that Mr. Harmon had fired at what he claimed was a giant bird. A bird he was certain had carried Nancy and Jimmy off. We found one of the feathers on the snow. As a matter of fact, here it is on the mantel here.
Let me see it.
Yeah.
This is very, very curious. Do you know what bird this feather came from, Mr. Kent?
No, I don't, Father.
This is one of the large tail quills of a big male turkey, bleached white.
A turkey?
Yes, that's what it is. I raised them out west when I was a boy, so I should know. This one's been bleached with lime or oxalic acid. The natural color is gray. Tell me more about this bird, Mr. Kent.
There isn't much more I know. Although I could scarcely believe that any bird, even a condor, was strong enough to carry off a human being, the abrupt ending of those footprints in the snow and Mr. Harmon's insistence that he had seen the giant bird made me wonder.
Where did you find Nancy and Jimmy?
In a cabin about 2 miles from here. There was a fire going in the stove, so evidently no permanent harm was meant them. They were both unconscious. I brought them back here, and, well, the rest you know.
Kent, I'm afraid we're dealing with a clever, unscrupulous individual who must be somewhere in this camp.
Well, how do you explain the footprints, Father? I mean, the fact that they ended abruptly and led nowhere.
Well, I can't at the moment. Neither can I explain the bird Mr. Harmon saw, unless it was simply hysteria. Certainly, Fred Harmon doesn't believe in the White Plague now, does he?
I'm beginning to wonder. At times, even Dawson seems to be drawn in by it.
Of course, once Nancy and Jimmy awake and we're able to tell us what happened, why, then we'll know a great deal more than we do now.
Yes.
I wonder who that could be this time of the night.
I'll see, Father. Oh, Dawson, come in.
Why, I thought you'd turned in, Bill.
Couldn't sleep, Father. This thing's been preying on my mind.
Pull up a chair for yourself.
Thank you.
Mr. Kent here has been telling me all that's happened, Bill. What do you make of it?
Well, right now I'm mixed up, Father. The men will clear out of camp in the morning. They're all scared to death.
What are they afraid of?
You know, same old story. The White Plague.
Are you afraid of it, Bill?
Who, me? Of course not.
I didn't think so. Well, who's leading the men on? Fear always has a leader, you know.
Well, no one in particular, unless it's Kurt Travers. He keeps telling them the camp's cursed.
We've got to keep the men here, Bill, if only for their own morale. We've got to prove this White Plague legend is just that, a legend.
You're going to have a tough time, Father, I can tell you.
Not if I get your help, Bill. By the way, Bill, do I understand that you said one of the loggers was bitten by a rattler? Now, you know as well as I do that rattlers hole in for the winter.
It was the first thing I could think of at the moment. I mentioned a heart attack, but that didn't work.
Well, how did the man die?
He was poisoned, Father.
What?
Are you sure, Kent?
Positive.
You didn't say nothing to Mr. Harmon or me about that, Kent.
I was keeping it to myself. Someone around here can't be trusted.
Oh, listen, Kent, I don't take that kind of talk from no one.
No, sit down, Bill. I'm sure Mr. Kent meant no harm.
Better watch what he says.
You're very sensitive tonight, Dawson.
Now, please, Mr. Kent.
I'm sorry, Father.
How did you happen to discover the man was poisoned, Mr. Kent?
He was sitting on a stump eating lunch when he collapsed. I picked up the remains of the sandwich he dropped when I helped Dawson lift him and carry him to the shed. It was loaded with rat poison, bichloride of mercury.
I don't believe it.
Whether you believe it or not, I happen to have what's left of the sandwich, and I can produce it at the proper time.
Then what all this boils down to is systematic murder. But what possible motive could there be?
Wait a minute. The crew's lunch was packed by the cook. Nobody knew Sam Green was going to get that poisoned sandwich, assuming it was poison.
I don't think it was intended for Green. It didn't matter who got it.
Oh, sounds fishy to me. Don't it to you, Father?
Not if the man who poisoned it was out to create terror and fear of the White Plague, which seems to be the case.
But then why did he try to get rid of Jimmy and myself? Certainly we played no part in the scheme of things.
Unless what, Mr. Kent?
I may be all wet on this, but could it be that the person who tried to kill us doesn't believe that Jimmy and I came here to the camp just for a vacation? Is it possible he thinks I'm spying on him?
That presupposes he has something to hide.
Wait a minute. Thought I heard someone moving around in the back room. Jimmy or Nancy might have regained consciousness. No, I guess not.
Who would have anything to hide in a backwoods logging camp?
It might be a crime committed some time ago.
Yeah, I can see this ain't getting nowhere. Guess I'll turn in. Good night, Father.
Good night, Bill. I trust you can sleep.
Good night, Dawson.
Good night.
I don't like his attitude. Not a bit.
Bill Dawson's all right. Little crude and little gruff, but harmless. You mustn't look for the polish of civilization in these woods, King. There isn't time to acquire it. Men of the North Country spend most of their working hours either fighting for existence or battling nature. Either way, they have a fight on their hands.
So do city people. I assure you life isn't any bed of roses for the unfortunate families who have to live in slum areas.
There you're right. But the problem up here is slightly different. Now, you work at the desk back at your newspaper office, don't you?
Yes.
Well, chances are you never stop to think of the sweat and blood that went into getting the wood for that desk. First, the superhuman labor of felling the tree with a thermometer at 30 degrees below zero, and then carting it to the river in the face of a blinding blizzard, then poling it 50 miles downstream where a misstep means horrible death. All for a desk or a chair or a pencil. These men who do that work face destruction every minute of the day, and all they have to guard against it is their wits and their brawn. You can't expect any social grace.
Oh, I don't, Father Malone. That wasn't my point. It's just that Dawson's been acting strange through all this misfortune. I can't quite understand it.
Well, I had that same trouble when I first arrived here, but I learned fast. They don't talk unless they have something to say. And they've never seen anything accomplished by talking. It takes 2 brawny arms and a sharp-bladed axe to fell a tree, not just words. Understand?
I think so.
But you mustn't let me go on like this. You were saying that Bill's actions have been strange.
Wait a minute. Thought I heard a voice. Yeah.
Boy, you did. Someone shouting fire.
Look, one of the cabins is blazing. Come on, Father.
Right behind you, Kent. Look at those flames.
Say, you can feel the heat from here. It's terrific.
Those dry pine logs go up like tinder. I wonder whether anyone's in that cabin.
Now, we'll find out. Hey! Is there anyone inside?
Yes! Kirk Travers! He can't get out! He's trapped!
Kirk Travers! Trapped! We've got to take him!
Roaring, devastating fire, the woodsman's one deadly fear. Will Kent, even as Superman, be able to save Kurt Travers from the blazing inferno of his log cabin? And can the fire be kept from spreading into the forest beyond the camp? Tune in again for more thrills.
Don't forget, tune in again for the next thrilling episode with Superman.
And now to our story. As you remember, Jimmy Olsen and Nancy Harmon, missing from the Bartlett logging camp for hours, were found in a cabin deep in the woods, both of them unconscious from a sleeping potion. Father Malone, a strapping Northwoods priest, summoned from the nearest town because of his widespread fame as a minister to the body as well as the soul, has decided that neither Jimmy nor Nancy will suffer any ill effects after the potion has worn off. But in the meantime, while Kent and Father Malone are talking in the camp office, a fire breaks out in one of the loggers' cabins. A roaring inferno in which a helpless man is trapped.
Are you sure there's someone in that cabin?
Yes! Kirk Travers!
Kirk Travers?
He can't get out!
They'll never quench that fire with water, Kent.
I'm afraid not, Father. It's too far gone. Hey, what are you doing?
Taking off my coat. I'm going in for that man.
No, you're not.
I can't leave him there to die like a caged animal.
Father,
Let go of me, Kent.
You'll never get through that wall of flame, Father Malone. Now, it's suicide.
But
Listen to me. You stay here. If the fire shifts, you may be able to get to him through that window. I'll go around to the other side. We'll get him out if it's humanly possible.
All right, Kent. Good luck for you.
Well, it's not humanly possible, but it is possible for Superman. There's only one difficulty. I can't afford to have anyone see me. No time to worry about that now. I'll have to chance it. Now, this is where the door must be. All right, here goes. There, I'm inside. I don't think I was seen. Now to find Travers and haul him out. Great Scott, this fire hasn't missed an inch of the cabin. It's burning like all fury. Travers! Travers! Oh, there he is. Doubled up in a corner with the flames playing all around him. His clothes are on fire. Beat these flames out with my hands. There. Hope I'm not too late. Poor fellow's horribly burned. Well, out we go, right through the thick of it. That does it. I came through there so fast I don't think the flames got to him again. Now to assume Clark Kent's role. Father Malone!
What is it, Kent? Oh, thank heavens you got him out.
Yes, the door collapsed, and there he was. But he's badly burned. We'd better get him to Mr. Harmon's cabin.
Can I help you?
No, I'll carry him. You lead the way.
Let me have that ointment, Dawson.
This?
Yes. Is that saline solution ready, Kent?
I have it right here.
Completely dissolved.
Yes,
Do you know how to fill a hypodermic syringe?
I think so.
You'll find one in my bag, wrapped in sterile gauze. Fill it with the salt solution, but hurry.
All right.
How does it look, Father?
Not too good, Bill. Most of his burns are 3rd degree, and they're bad. Ready with that hypo, Kent?
In a minute. Here it is.
Good. Now, turn his left arm around. Palm up.
I'm up, yeah.
Careful. That's it. Now, hold it steady.
I got it.
There. Now, fill the hypo again, Kent.
All right.
How did the fire start, Bill?
Nobody knows. When I left here, I walked over to my cabin. The minute I got inside, I heard someone yell.
It couldn't have flared up like that in less than a minute.
Hypo's ready, Father Malone.
Thank you. Now, hold his arm gently.
All right.
It's enough for the time being, anyhow. Now, all we can do is hope and pray. I've done everything I can, spiritually and physically. Cover him up with that blanket.
All right, Father. There we are. There. Now, I'm going out to look at what's left of the cabin. I'll be right back.
We'll come with you, Kent.
Oh, all right.
You say you didn't see any fire when you passed Travers' cabin on the way to your own, Bill?
No, I didn't.
That's impossible.
I told you I didn't see no fire, Kent.
And I tell you it's impossible.
Why, you dirty...
Cut it out, both of you.
He can't call me no liar and get away with it. I'll bust him in two. Put your hands up, Kent. You're going to get the thrashing of your life.
I'm ready.
I'll whip the terror out of both of you unless you stop this nonsense. And don't think I can't do it.
No man calls me a liar. I don't care who he is.
If that's the worst you ever called, Dawson, you're lucky. Now, come on, and don't try anything, either of you. Now, let's fly with the right course that won me a boxing championship at college. Come on.
I ain't through with him yet. Not by a long shot.
Well, here's what's left of the cabin. Nothing but a few pieces of charred pine and an iron cot.
Yeah, that fire must have been burning for a good 10 minutes before we heard the logger shout.
I tell you, it wasn't burning when I went by.
Now, hold your temper, Bill. I'm inclined to agree with Kent. He couldn't possibly have gotten that far and done so much damage.
Wait a minute. Smell this piece of wood, Father.
Kent. It smells like kerosene.
That's what it is. I may have to apologize, Dawson. If the cabin was saturated with kerosene, it might very well have gone up in less than a minute.
I didn't see no fire.
Yeah, this piece of wood has kerosene on it, too. That's what happened, Father. Someone spilled kerosene around the cabin and then touched a match to it.
Well, that hardly sounds possible, Kent. Dawson, was Travers alone in the cabin?
Yeah. Preston used to bunk with him, but he was the one who disappeared and then came back to die before he could talk. Travers was afraid he was going to be next. He said so, and Sam Green went. He and Sam worked on the last tree we felled this morning.
Ah, don't talk nonsense, Bill. This isn't any ridiculous legend. This is cold-blooded murder. We'd better get the sheriff. He should have been called in a long time ago. Send one of your men to town, Bill.
Wait a minute. Someone's coming over.
Mr. Dawson,
What is it, Charlie?
the men are all set to hike into Movie. They say they ain't spending another night here. Thought I better tell you.
Wait. Let me talk to them. Where are they, Charlie?
Won't do no good, Father. Hank and Chris swear they saw a guy with wings go into the burning cabin after Kurt Travers. They don't want no part of this camp.
A man with wings. Why, they're out of their minds.
I think I can handle him. You and Dawson go back to the office, Kent, and keep an eye on Travers. All right, Charlie. Now take me over to them.
I'm sorry I went overboard, Dawson. You won't hold it against me, will you?
Forget it.
Thanks. Well, come on. What do you make of this now, Dawson?
It don't make sense. I'm beginning to feel like the men. White plague or no white plague, I want to get out. I don't like it. Hank Brachet and Chris Dunham say they saw a man with wings go in after Travers. They're no blind fools. Kent, they saw something.
Well, they probably saw me pulling Travers out of the doorway.
Well, maybe.
Oh, Mr. Harmon's up. Hello.
Kent, what happened? Why is Kurt Travers lying there?
One of the cabins caught fire and burned down. Travers was trapped inside.
Dawson, is that true?
Yes. Didn't you hear nothing?
Not a sound. I woke up suddenly and walked out here and saw Travers stretched out on the couch, white as a ghost. Is he...
Father Malone tried to save him. We can't be sure yet. Right now, he looks... Dawson. He passed away.
How do you know?
No pulse, no respiration. He's gone.
This is ghastly. When will it stop?
What's that puddle near the couch?
Snow melting off Mr. Harmon's shoes. Want me to get Father Malone, Kent?
Oh, it's too late now. Draw the blanket up.
That makes 5, don't it?
Yeah.
5 men murdered.
No. Not murdered. No, it can't be.
I'm afraid that's what it is, Mr. Harmon.
Dawson, did you wire Mr. Bartlett? Did you tell him we were closing up?
Haven't had a chance.
Haven't had it.
It don't matter. The men are quitting, all of them.
I don't blame them. I'm going myself. This is too much. Where's Nancy?
She and Jimmy are still sleeping off the effects of the drug. I'll look in on them.
You don't blame me, Bill, do you? You don't blame me for closing the camp?
No, I don't blame you. I've had enough of it myself. That cabin going up in flames was the last straw.
How did it start?
Kerosene.
You mean?
Someone poured kerosene all over it. Someone who wanted to get rid of Kurt Travers.
Jimmy and Nancy are all right.
Where's Father Malone?
Talking to your men, trying to convince them to stay.
No, I don't want him to. Let them go.
Why, Mr. Harmon?
I can't keep them here any longer. Their lives are in danger. Let them go. We've all got to get out. As soon as possible.
Oh, here's Father Malone now.
Well, the men agreed to stay. What's the matter, Kent? Oh, Mr. Harmon's up.
Travers is dead, Father.
No. At least he felt no pain. For that, we give thanks.
Father Malone, I don't want the men to remain in camp. I'm closing it up.
You can't do that, Mr. Harmon. I won't permit it.
What do you mean?
I won't let these men become the victims of stupid, senseless fear. If they leave, it must be with a conviction that human hands wreaked this havoc, that a twisted human brain created this madness. And further, whoever has been responsible for this must be brought to justice.
Well, I've had enough, I tell you. I can't stand any more of it.
Kent, watch him.
Easy there, Mr. Harmon. Here, take my hand. You better sit down.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
That's all right. We understand. Kent, you and Dawson carry poor Travers into one of the back rooms.
All right, Father.
I've asked all the men to come here. We're going to get to the bottom of this before dawn.
All right, Kent. Take a seat. Easy.
You must get a grip on yourself, Mr. Harmon. You can't show the men that you've been affected.
All right, I'll try. I'll do my best.
That's the way to talk.
Father Malone.
Yes, Kent?
I don't think it will be necessary to have the men here.
Well, why not? It's the only way to question everyone at once.
I don't think you'll have to question anyone.
Well, what do you mean?
I know who killed those 5 loggers. I know who set fire to the cabin. I know who's responsible for everything that's happened. And I can prove it.
Well, Clark Kent certainly seems sure of himself, doesn't he? Do you know who used the legend of the White Plague to cast an evil spell of mystery over the Bartlett logging camp? Then tune in on the next episode of Superman for a startling solution.
Don't forget, tune in again for the next thrilling episode with Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird. It's a plane.
It's Superman! Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.